Hello and welcome to the East Lampeter Township Public Meeting. All participants are now informed that this meeting is being recorded. This meeting is also being offered virtually utilizing Zoom, which is a cloud-based platform for remote video and audio conferencing. The Zoom application is free to the public. The general public is therefore able to join the meeting by connection through the internet or by calling in by phone. The public is also able to observe the meeting on the Township's YouTube channel. Please continue to check the Township website calendar for any updates related to these public meetings. Agendas for these public meetings will also be available on the Township's website. Please be reminded that this meeting is being video and audio recorded and will be posted to the Township's YouTube channel for viewing. The meeting will now proceed with the chairman calling the meeting to order and identifying all other members present in the meeting room and those joining the meeting via Zoom. The chairman will then confirm those members joining by Zoom can be heard.
Okay, welcome to the Monday, June 3rd, 2024 meeting of the East Lampeter Township Board of Supervisors. My name is Corey Meyer and I am the chair. All supervisors in the room are here. And Supervisor Roger Rudd is excused and absent. So please join me in the pledge to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
We have number 3, public comment. Who's in the room and just thanks for newspapers online. Okay. Move on to 4, the consent agenda. We have numerous items. We'll read those off. We have 4A, approval of the June 3rd, 2024 Board of Supervisors meeting agenda. The approval of minutes on Monday, May 20th, full regular meeting. 4C, request for financial security release, McDonald's, 29 Eastland Highway East. And the township engineer to provide a letter recommending full release of the remaining financial security for the project in the amount of $3,520, following the reporting of the as plan. 4D, request for financial security reduction, LMS, 2176 Lincoln Highway East. Township engineers provide a letter recommending reduction of $69,950.52 in financial security for this project, leaving a remaining balance of $880. We have 4E, time extension to record conditionally approved plan 2224 Larambo Farms, 458 Mount Simeon Road. Applicants request additional time to satisfy all conditions of approval. Request is for an extension of 6 months to December 18th, 2024. Township staff does support this request based on the review sheet of the applicant, and this is the second time extension for this plan. If there is another time extension required, the board would need to take action on such at their December 16th, 2024 meeting, or the approval become null and void. We have 4F, request for financial security reduction, Byler 47 Bridge Road. Township engineers provide a letter recommending a reduction of $12,260.20 in financial security for this project, leaving a remaining balance of $7,921.10. We have G, time extension for township review and action, stormwater management plan 2325 Millstream Motel, 170 East Brook Road. And applicants offering another time extension. This is the 4th time extension offered by this applicant. This time extension would take us an additional 90 days to August 27th, 2024. And so we'll need to make a decision if we're inclined to accept it, or we could also advise township staff to tell the applicant that this would be the last time if we do decide that is the case. So I'll look for that in discussion. 4H, time extension for township review and action, Walmart Land Development Plan 2409, 2034 Lincoln Highway East. Applicants offering a time extension to provide themselves with additional time to address review comments provided by the township engineer. Time extension offers to provide an extension July 15, 2024 for board action. And this is the first time extension for this plan. This is a small addition to the existing building for customer order pickup services. And then we have I, approval to pay invoices from all funds for a total of $447,705.51. We have one notable item, $156,875.40 to Temp Check for HVAC replacement project, and it is definitely cooler in the room tonight, so we appreciate that. Okay, gentlemen, we have a bunch of consent agenda items. I do want to just get some thoughts. We can make a motion, then we can get thoughts at one.
Motion to accept the consent agenda as stated.
Okay, motion made, second, and let's get some thoughts. That was for G, Millstream Motel, 170.
Any other explanation of what the issues are?
Stormwater plan, township engineers, giving them all the review comments on, what needs to be fixed in order to make it compliant with the ordinance.
So they sort of originally did something on their own without
They
without
did.
movement, and then that had to be altered. I don't know how fundamental it had to be altered. Maybe it was significant. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure they've done anything to physically alter anything. They went to the zoning hearing board and got approval of what they actually did. And then to provide with the stormwater plan, but really is a plan to authorize what they've done, which they shouldn't have done, but they ultimately got zoning approval, so it's been through review and in my opinion, shouldn't be.
So maybe they are resisting hiring someone to put the plan together.
No, they prepared a plan. They submitted the plan. They submitted calculations. It's been reviewed by the township engineer. Township engineer gave them comments to say you need to fix these things in order to make it. Start doing it.
So it really is those items that they're not getting done.
Okay, so we have a time extension to August 27th, 2024. We can forward with that and say nothing else, or we can advise township staff that this is the final, and they would have to, at that point, they would have to put another plan in, start the process over. I don't have a strong opinion either way.
No, not either. Only 4 times seems like we don't see those very often.
Not very often.
Unless there was something significant. I really don't have a problem saying this is it. If they don't,
Plans rejected, they have to start over again.
you start the whole cycle again.
Okay, so Mike, you're for saying this is the last time. Add some fire to it, hopefully speeds it up and gets them to do that work. But
I just haven't heard anything that would really be exceptionally challenging or something like that.
Okay.
And then just
Sure.
minutes are a little unclear under there, which will come up again as we address housing issues, but the comments we made were in the housing plan, it's in the minutes here. I mentioned was we should allow accessory dwelling units as an accessory to a primary use in areas where we currently allow accessory dwelling units. I gave the example of a village residential, but I specifically said we do not apply to just the village residential. I would apply to the other ones as well. And then the second piece would be stipulated over there, but then on the accessory dwelling units on a farm, either ADU, echo, or second dwelling with special exception, as a way to clarify without having to rewrite the whole farm section of the ordinance. So that's just my memory and review of.
We'll talk about it again, but I'll accept those changes. And so we have a motion, we have a second, we have direction to staff for item G and some minute changes to the housing area of the minutes.
I was trying to find the spot in the minutes.
Okay. Yeah, and we'll have additional discussion, I'm sure, when we get to the housing. So anything else? Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second with those amendments. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Assuming no public comment since there's no public here. Okay, sorry. Okay. Okay, next on the agenda, we have no old business under 5. We have 6 new business. A, supervisor discussion items, housing plan implementation. How do you want to kick off and then?
Staff. That we made the revisions that the board has asked for. So, yeah, we're hoping to get everything so that staff can get on the process of implementing.
You just want to go through. Let's go through. Yeah.
So the accessory dwelling units, and this came out of the discussion of the accessory dwelling units with religious uses.
Their highest priority.
Their highest priority. That makes sense as written there. What I suggested was, so missing prior was accessory dwelling units under second highest priority with a primary use. And this would, currently, we don't allow that in our village residential R1, R2, or R3 zones. So really so my suggestion was, let's do accessory dwelling units with a primary use, not just in the village residential. And what that would mainly pick up would be houses of worship, religious uses in the R1, R2, and R3 zones. Because those are uses allowed by right in those zones. There's really no quick read. There's not a lot of commercial uses allowed by right in those zones. So it would make sense why it wasn't previously put in there, but that would allow basically religious uses in those areas as well as other permitted uses in residential areas and the village residential to allow accessory units similar to how they are in the more mixed use zones. So that was the clarification of, that was what we had discussed, or Mike discussed, and I tried to clear. The example I used was village residential. Said it would apply to all the other ones, mainly picking up religious uses.
So if we read allow accessory dwelling units within BR, R1, R2, R3 on properties that have other primary uses than residential.
That's correct. So the way our current accessory apartments ordinance is written is we allow in the C1 mixed use, Burton, village general, village commercial accessory apartments as an accessory to a permitted non-residential use by right. We allow it only as an accessory to a permitted single family detached residential use by right in the R2 or 3 in village residential.
We allow 2 ADUs with non-residential in those districts that you just named.
That would be my suggestion, just be expand that current way it's written to those other ones. So basically a church could put in 2 accessory apartments if they wanted. Now rewriting it to allow more depending on the size of the lot, I think is worth doing at a later date. But this would allow a church to put in 1 or 2 units if they're currently located in one of those zones.
Yes, so I'm clear.
Yeah.
Not at this point. Under second highest priority area, the heading accessory dwelling units with a primary use is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Worded more in line with our zoning ordinance would be permitted non-residential use. So we already allow them as part of a permitted single family detached use.
So with all of the uses that are currently permitted, not existing necessarily, but permitted in those districts, That's slightly different than when we met with you and talked about that. We were sticking just to the village residential.
But then when we added this section on religious uses as being to allow multiple, up to 6, this makes sense, but there's plenty of churches that can just add 1 or 2. So that was my suggestion, rather than elevate this whole piece of the religious use. Someone could put in 1 or 2, so hence the expansion of, it's not just village residential, it's any of those zones. I just know that in the village residential, there are permitted or permitted non-residential uses allowed in the village residential that are not allowed in 2 and 3. I was mainly looking, discussion was, all right, how can we also expand it so that it hits those churches? With the existing churches in those areas. Without having to rewrite to add up to 6, but there's churches in 2 or 3. To me, that would be a simple text amendment, changing that page to allow those as without rewrite.
Are you following? Do you have any thoughts about this?
Or is there a better way to add those in there that would make more sense? So initially I wrote it just as with a primary use, and then staff would come back with, all right, here's how we would put it in there.
Yeah, I think we'll take a look at how to put it in.
That's sort of my suggestion of how to put it in, but if you want to put it in differently, but it's a way to pick up some of the, again, it's a handful of potential units. It's mainly, can a church go in and put 1 or 2 in now?
We'll look at how to put it in.
Then you have, the other one was, and is the accessory dwelling unit on a farm, which is still in the 3rd highest priority. I suggest there, as long as we add this.
We're 3rd page, second
Page
top.
3, second from the
Page
top.
3.
Yes. So we have already in the second highest priority, accessory dwelling units in the ag zoning district, but it still contains the less than 10 acres. My suggestion was we can move the less than 10 acres piece and just clarify that you can only have one of the above. Go accessory unit, second attached dwelling.
That is the intent, yes, that you have 1, not all 3.
But then we wouldn't need it we would need the 10 acres restriction, because that was what we discussed was, can we do a simpler rather than rewrite? Because the reason for moving that to next year was we would have to rewrite the whole thing for the special exception.
I thought we took out the 10 acres, honestly. So that any, roadside residential that is taken off of the farm over years, that are out there, those can all serve just as any other single family with an ADU.
That was what I understood we were moving towards. But in the memo that's presented, it still has the less than 10 acres.
Yeah, under the second highest priority area.
Yeah.
Because those aren't farms, basically, if you're under 10 acres, you're not a farm.
Right. So that was the original.
Under the 3rd highest, moved up to the 2nd highest.
And it was, can we just, as opposed to rewriting the whole thing, which was the reason provided that's moved, can we just clarify that you can only have 1 and move it up inward? So a text amendment as opposed to
So basically moving up the accessory dwelling unit on a farm in a way to make it easier to.
we do it as a simpler text amendment. Because the rewrite is gonna be, once you do that, is anyone gonna really go for the special exception? But if you need to, there'll be some redundancy in there. So I think the same clarification of when you can only have one will apply in less than 10 acres as well.
Okay, so Terry, you'll take a look at that. Okay. Yeah, I think the rest of that, great work on the document. I'm sure you agree, and thank you. Yeah, we're very close to having a prioritized list. Any other thoughts on that?
Good on that, we could accept with those verbal pieces, or do we need to go back?
No, I'm hoping. I'm assuming you guys know what the board wants. Do you want a motion, or is this,
Or just direction for edits?
yeah, it's
I
just,
mean, since nothing's changed in terms of at least the highest priority, we can at least start on that.
yeah.
The other thing I don't know in the ag zone is, can you do a single family a second attached dwelling by special exception for less than 10 acres? So it only applies to my,
Actually takes up one of your development rights on the property.
so this, as long as it's clarified, you can only do one of these. I think we could put it as a text. If it turns out you can't, then leave it where it is.
It would be precluding the possibility of having a second one on a.
Well, you still have that, so like, you could have a detached accessory dwelling unit that you could also remove and then start the process again for your special exception. You don't have.
A net of, always a net of one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were providing for the possibility of having two, but if you prefer to one.
Why wouldn't we want for more than one? If it's
Well, that's one of, it's a, the only one that to me is more of a down the road.
simpler, just to implement now.
So there's the low hanging fruit, we could just implement what we have now, clarify, you only do one of these, and then in a future rewrite, after we go through getting a comprehensive plan, if we're gonna look at the whole thing and make more deeper edits, then I'd look at some of these ones we have listed as lower priority ones. If there's time and there's, a year from now. So there's other ones that I think we could clean up and improve in a year or two. But we could have some of it now.
We'd like, as Hutch said, we'd like to move on the first highest priority to get that information out there.
So
I see no problem with moving on those.
Great. Yeah. Additional revisions and bring that, but in the meantime, we'll get started on the highest priority.
Anyone have any issues with what we just discussed? Okay, keep moving. 7A, consideration of bids in place for the
The board will recall that we got very good bids on, at least one very good bid on the first round of paving contract that we put out. We attempted to change order, essentially modify that first contract in order to add some streets since we had money that wasn't being used. We learned through talking with PennDOT and the township solicitor that wasn't going to work. So we put a second bid out for those additional streets that we wanted to do. Received those bids last week. The per ton paving material price isn't quite as good as the first one that we got, but still very, very good. And we'd like, and it's the same contractor that got the first bid and first go round. It does put us slightly, almost $12,000 over the original amount that was budgeted for paving work this year, but based upon the value that we're getting. It makes sense to go forward with that. We still have a very healthy balance in the highway aid fund, going forward. So I don't think that's gonna, create any issues in the future. So we recommend going forward, award to Alan Myers for the, low bid price.
We also need to change the budget, or is this? Or would that come out when we award or make the payment?
If you're making approval here to go over budget, just
Or just add it to the motion?
If you want to add it to the motion, that's fine.
I'll make a motion to award the bid for 2024 milling and paving to Alan Myers, and to also approve the $1,676 extra over the original budget amount. Also,
moved by Ethan, seconded by Ted. Any further public comment? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, authorized request, yeah, sure, authorized request for proposals for comprehensive plan consulting services.
Yeah, distributed this document last time, and we're ready to move forward. Yes. We would receive proposals by the end of this month, and conduct interviews in periods in the August, September, December, September time period, and forward. So that.
Good. Motion to authorize the RFP for comprehensive plan consultant services as presented.
Sure. Moved by Ethan, seconded by Mike. Any public comment? Opposed? Motion passes. C, authorized community survey to continue.
And circulated these draft questions as well. And, looking for any feedback that you would have, but ready to put this back out to the community and make some additional.
If the board doesn't mind, in September of last year, we went over the results of the original survey and found that there was some additional maybe educational opportunities available to the general public as to which roads are state roads versus township roads, how taxes are divvied up. And so that's what led to diving into a few of these questions a little deeper.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't get I did write out a bunch of feedback on this last time, I did not send it to you. There's a couple of suggestions to simplify this. Like push pull. Some of these, and then on some of these, they have a need more of that 1 to 5 scale. Which I'm assuming we've got the 1 to 4 scale. I don't know which questions those ones apply to.
Yeah, I think that's honestly left over from the next one, but because we've changed the format.
Question of how services. So I'm assuming that's one that's got a rank on there.
Yeah, and the rank of the roads.
But we can also rank it.
So that's the 4 step, the 4 rating notes, how you would like to use that. For those 2 questions, obviously the appropriate.
So I would also put in, I mean, so the main suggestions would be maybe group some of these clarifications on which ones are the roads. And then, so we could have an informational piece and then ask the question, as opposed to, we've got sort of knockout questions. And then we're asking a ranking. Might be a quicker way to get there from here. And then I would put on some of these sort of a general one, right? In there, I've got a system like I put a rating on, you know, if you watched a remote meeting, rank the quality, and then we used to have an open-ended comment under each question. Sometimes you get better comments specific to the question rather than one question at the very end, because then you have to figure out what they're talking about. You usually get the same number of comments, you just get them in a more usable format. Probably throw the website on there. Have you used it? How would you rank it? What would you suggest we do to improve it? But yeah, those are my only suggestions.
Good comments. Yeah, I mean, I always like having more chances for open-ended comments. I do realize that there is that open-ended question at the end. Either take Ethan's idea of adding more opportunities or just have an open, and any other feedback, not just about transparency or confidence, but just any other feedback that people have about, frankly, anything they want to share would be helpful. But we go with what you can suggest as well. Sure. Okay, we have 8A on 2024 U.S. Women's Open Golf Championship.
Yeah, just happy to report that things went smoothly this past week with the Open Championship. So I think from the feedback I've gotten, everybody enjoyed it. And again, the plan worked, things went smoothly, and
Yeah,
we'll see what happens with the next one.
good. And we're expecting full payment from
Yeah,
USGA.
we'll be sending an invoice to the USGA and expecting payment 15 days later.
Approximately 2,000 hours.
It's actually going to be a little bit less than what we had originally scheduled.
Great. Cool. I know many of us had a chance to either go or watch on TV or be close there. I thought it was awesome for Lancaster County and awesome for East St. Peter Township. I did see the ad in the newspaper from the USGA thanking Manheim Township, East St. Peter Township, and many other municipalities, Lancaster City as well, the county, and a few organizations in the county as well. So it was a great.
We posted that thank you out in the
Oh, good.
so
Great.
that
Yeah.
residents can come in
Yeah.
and see they're being thanked as well.
Great. Okay. Any comments about the USGA?
I think the lack of any negative incidents was about the careful planning and the coordination, because, really the police watching pay a little more attention to it, I guess, in our roles, and watching the police, how the roads were staged, signage, just really making sure it's very clear and getting complaints about, interruptions. So.
Good, good, glad.
Yeah, please thank each of us. I know Chief Zerby was involved. I know every single officer was involved in one way or another, either picking up extra shifts here, within Leola and Upper Lake Hockin and East St. Peter, or being on site. So
We'll pass that on.
great. 8B, Recreation Director.
Yes, Lisa Cleveland started as a recreation director Tuesday last week. She's already got some ideas cooking, things like, movie in the park, goat yoga.
Love
Some other ideas. We're going to be reaching out to the school district to set a meeting with them and get that relationship solidified. So very excited. Going to have her attend a future board meeting. I've given her dates so that you get a chance to meet her as well. So we're off and running.
Awesome. Great to have her and working here. And then 8C, Lancaster Heritage Pathways.
Yeah, as the board knows, we've been putting a lot of energy into the Heritage pathway. The local care project. CPD as a consultant. We've been working through a couple of minor details on the scope of services and getting that put into agreement form. So I expect to have that done probably this week. And that'll get going. That's those two pieces, basically the piece between Pitney along Oak Grove back to the right of way, and then looking east of the Ben Franklin Boulevard around, or trailhead, I should say. The multimodal grant application we put in for construction for that piece east of the Ben Franklin Boulevard trailhead. No decision's been made by PennDOT yet, so we're still waiting on that grant application decision. The other two projects we've been working on, they're basically planning conceptual design process for projects. We look at the connection along Walnut Street from where it diverges away from Walnut Street right now into the city, and then along Pitney into the city as well. Have been slow and essentially slowed down by PennDOT's third-party consultant that's supposed to be project managing these projects for us. And we've been very, very frustrated, expressed that frustration. I think now that we expressed that frustration a little more directly last week, we should have everything we need to get it in front of you again. At the next meeting, we're basically going to have to ask you to reapprove what you've already approved in terms of agreements with PennDOT. So that's a little frustrating, but we'll have that for you at your next meeting and be able to hopefully get those projects going.
Yeah, appreciate that. And we've had some issues with PennDOT from time to time on just random things, and then sometimes things we'd rather.
PennDOT staff, I'm not pointing at PennDOT staff, I'm pointing at their consultant that they've got.
Yeah.
The project management workers. Very frustrating. Staff, Tara has had to do some of what our managers should have been doing. And despite all that effort, we haven't been able to get it going. So hopefully we'll reach that point where it'll be going 2 weeks.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that information.
Yeah.
We do have adjournment on but I do see, do you have a public comment you'd like to make?
Yeah, I think
Could you
it's
just-
nicely to hear Ralph's update, because I've been following the Heritage Trail project. I think it's just outstanding. We're using it regularly, and we're seeing lots of people doing likewise along what I call Hines Highway. You understand what I'm saying, sure. But anyway, the beautiful wildflowers and September 7th. And so what I wanted to learn from you, Ralph, tonight was what the latest is on the connecting of the trail in sort of times, back to High Time. And what I heard you say is that if you are planning to run it along, which is very concerning to me from the fact because of the dangers that the safety of walking along. Can you give more detail on, how people would be protected? I've been run off once walking along there. Nearly lost my life. I had to run fast with, distracted drivers. So I no longer walk along there. And so I remember coming to one of your meetings and speaking with somebody, I can't think of his last name right offhand, but from the Lancaster County Planning Commission. And he was talking about maybe running it along the railroad, which I thought made much greater sense and would be safe. So can you clue me in as to what's going on here that is sure.
We just have your name and address just for the record. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
But
Yeah. Great.
CV school, LYNCA LUECK-STONER.
Very welcome. So thank you.
So there are two planning projects that we're trying to get started that will look at the best options for continuing the trail. One option being along Pitney, and the other option being continuing along Walnut Street under Route 30 and in that way. So there's no design that's been done at this point. The consultant would be looking at trying to create the best solution. It's certainly dangerous out there now because there are no facilities out there now to accommodate pedestrians or bicycles. So the idea would be to develop a path and a design for that path that would be accommodating to pedestrians and bicycles.
So nobody's researching along the river other than via Walnut Street, is that correct? That extension?
Well,
So there's options that the consultant will look at. And one is coming off of Pitney and then along the river or through the community somehow into Conestoga Pines. One option is how might we make it safe along Pitney to traverse Pitney to Conestoga Pines? Or there is, we want to make that connection to the bridge that the city is putting in so that we can make a loop connection with
Oh, yes,
Walnut
I
Street.
understand. Yeah,
So we just don't have it finalized at this point. That would be part of the study, which is open to the public to attend those meetings.
which are,
We haven't,
they're not scheduled.
yeah, because I go sometimes, we go to city council meetings since we're distracted. The line there. But anyway, and I know how things are still uncertain with the city's plan to come along there. Since I, but my concern remains with the dangers of, walking along Pitney. And the beauty of going along the Conestoga, I think y'all maybe saw, with the coverage of the Open, there was, information about canoeing or kayaking, you know, the river. And there were quite a few people doing it, we noticed, but anyway, I just am still hoping for a route that way. Or maybe, like you said, the Walnut Street, but keeping them off Pitney. I don't know how to keep them safe. There's not much of a shoulder there. I remember coming to a meeting, with concern when I discovered on the plans that, the bridge over Mill Cross would carry both traffic and, pedestrians, and I was concerned, of course, about the safety. But they did a phenomenal job. It's totally safe.
Yeah.
There with those massive pipes, to protect, you know, pedestrians, and the bridge is attractive. Everything about the project really is top notch. So I'm glad that it turned out so well. But I can't wait to see now, of course, how we make this connection with the trail. So.
At a minimum, we have to get under Route 30 along Pitney. So there's no option. There's no option. Once we get under Route 30, then there's options to go further west there, but we've got to get under Route 30.
Thank you. Okay, we have nothing else on the agenda. We have a motion to adjourn. So moved by Ethan, second by Mike. Any public comment on adjournment? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?